Hi everybody, it's Christina. Welcome back to Adventures in Polishland and happy Friday to you. I am back with a Friday Reads. I missed last week because I was away. I was actually in New York City on vacation seeing 9 Broadway shows. So that was super fun. I'm a huge Broadway fan, as you might know. So I try to go to New York at least once, if not twice a year, and see as many shows as I can. And this was my biggest trip to date. So I had a great time. If you want to learn more about what I got up to in the city or my opinions on the shows, I would recommend checking out my main Instagram account. It's at Adventures in Polishland, and I always have a link to it in the description box. I have finished a few books since the last time we spoke, so let's jump right into my reading update. First up is Woodworking by Emily St. James. I had about 60 pages of this book left the last time we spoke. It is set in South Dakota, and we are following a teacher who is coming to terms with the fact that she is transgender. And the only other trans person that she is aware of is one of her students. And she connects with her student and they begin an unlikely friendship. I ended up really enjoying this book. I gave it a full 5-star rating. It just did a great job at talking about our characters' lives and discussing how even though being trans is a huge part of who they are and their identity, they still have so much else going on in their lives that they have to reconcile both of those aspects at the same time. I look forward to reviewing that book here on my channel because Woodworking actually does 2 things that I usually dislike in books, but because the author wrote it so well, both of those aspects worked for me, so that was pretty exciting. Next up, I read Remarkably Bright Creatures by Shelby Van Pelt. I got this from the library. I actually forgot that I had the book here because I read it over a week ago now. And if you're unaware, this one takes place in Washington State, and we're following an older woman who works as a janitor at the local aquarium, and then a younger man who is from California who is kind of one of those guys whose life is falling apart and he can't seem to put it back together. And there's also a third character who is an octopus, who is kind of the one who is the omniscient character in the story. He kind of figures out everything that's going on before our characters do. I really enjoyed this book. I gave it a 4-star rating. I will say though that when people talk about it, they often talk about it as the old lady and the octopus, and you don't really hear about this other character as much, even though he is a huge part of the story. And for me, this is one of those books that is extremely predictable. I had the ending figured out pretty quickly, and it was more about the journey of getting to the end than actually having that plot reveal. So there were a few things that I would change, but overall it was a very enjoyable book, and I can certainly see why it is so popular. And I'm glad I was able to finish that before I went on vacation because it's a big hardback and I didn't want to take it with me. The next book I read, I don't think I ever got the chance to show this to you, but I ordered this on Pango Books, which is a used book platform that I've talked about before. And this is When the Museum is Closed by Emi Yagi, translated by Yuki Tajima from the Japanese. I read Diary of a Void by this author last year and I really loved it. So when I found out she had a new book coming out, I wanted it as well. And I had a saved search on Pango, and as soon as it came up, I bought it. This is a short novel, and I read it on the train to New York City. I finished it within that train ride, so it only took me a few hours to read. This book is about a young woman. She is, I would say, pretty socially awkward. She doesn't really know how to interact with people, and she has a shell around herself at all times, but she gets a job working at a museum, and her job is to speak with the statue of Venus, and Venus only speaks in Latin, And so since our main character does know how to speak Latin, she is the perfect one for the job. And the book follows our protagonist as she converses with Venus and becomes attached to her. And the story really goes from there. It is very interesting because just like Diary of a Void, there are things where you're not sure if they're really happening or if they're allegories. I feel like a lot of the Japanese literature I read has a strong magical realism feel to it, and although in the past I didn't really like magical realism, I'm finding that the older I get and the more I read Japanese literature, the more I really enjoy it because it makes you think about things in a different way. And even though I'm not 100% sure what aspects of this book were actually occurring in our protagonist's life and which parts may have been imagined, that kind of adds to the allure for me, and it adds to me wanting to derive meaning from the story. So I didn't love this as much as The Diary of a Void, but I still really enjoyed it. I would definitely reread this to get a better grasp on the story because it does read so quickly, and it is very short as well. It is under 150 pages, so maybe I would read this in a shorty September. We will see, but I do recommend this if you like weird books where you're kind of wondering what the heck is going on here. So as I mentioned, I finished that book on the train to New York, and so I had to go book shopping while I was there. I would have done that anyway, but I went to Book Off, which is one of my favorite used bookstores, and I will say their prices definitely went up, but I still found some deals, and I decided to buy all of Kitteridge by Elizabeth Strout. It was $5, as you can see. And the reason I wanted to pick up this book is because I've heard great things about this author. Obviously, this one won the Pulitzer Prize, but from what I understand, a lot of Elizabeth Strout's books are interconnected, and so she's one of those authors where it really behooves you if you read her books in publishing order. Now, she does have a couple of books that she published before all of Kitteridge. Those were Abide by Me and Amy and Isabel, but I don't think those are interconnected with her other novels. Please correct me if I am wrong, because I would love to have the best reading experience with her. So I am starting with this one, and this is what I am currently reading. This is a shorter novel as well, but it's taking me a while. I didn't read all that much while I was actually on vacation. I'm on page 164, and this one has just about 270 pages. So I have about 100 pages left to go. Hopefully I will finish this weekend. I am enjoying this. It seems to be a set of stories about this town in Maine called Crosby, Maine. And there is a Maine family that we're following. There's a primary family that we're following who lives in Maine, I should say. And they are the Kitteridge family, specifically Olive, of course. But we meet so many different characters along the way that it almost feels like they are short stories that are making up the overall plot line, if that makes sense. So I'm having a little bit of a struggle with that because I do not do the best with short stories, but I am intrigued and I look forward to finishing this. I also thought it was really cool because in this used book, somebody had written a little message inside, and it's written in a foreign, to me, language. It's not in English, and I used Google Lens on my phone, and it's written in Korean, I believe, and it said, "Have a great trip to Korea, you're a great travel companion," or something along those lines. I don't remember word for word, but I thought that was so sweet that someone gave this to their travel companion when they were traveling to Korea. So that is what I have been up to. I'm actually going to film a New York City book haul right after this because I did come home with a nice stack of books in addition to all of Kitteridge, but this Friday Reads is already getting a little long, so I will leave you here. Please let me know how you have been doing. What are you reading? I would love to hear, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.